Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. It's been a really long time since I've done a sit down video. I think it's just because with everything that's been going on with the pregnancy and everything, all of the footage that I've previously been uploading is all like past footage. So we're now up to date. I'm currently 16 weeks pregnant, so we're all back in real time now, and I thought I would film a video that will hopefully help a lot of you if you're going through pregnancy or your first trimester. So this is kind of like my first trimester hints and tips and basically how to survive it and get through it, because not for everyone, but unfortunately for a lot of women it can be really tough and can take a massive toll. Hopefully a few of these tips will help. This has definitely helped me in my first trimester. I definitely have felt worse this time around in my second pregnancy than my first, but by all means I don't have it anywhere near as bad as what some people go through. I know I'm very lucky, but I did also feel really rubbish and sicky and tired and all that good stuff. So hopefully these tips will kind of help if you are feeling the same and going through the same thing. This video is going to be like a mixture of things, products that have helped, things that I did that helped, and just basically things that I did throughout my first trimester. So the first thing I want to talk about is like multivitamins and the vitamins and things that you should be getting in your first trimester. The vitamins that I was taking were these Pregnacare multivitamins. The reason why I chose these was because I used these in my first pregnancy, but I actually didn't get on that great with them. I've heard that this is quite common with these types of multivitamins, but I think it can upset your tummy a little bit. They definitely made me constipated in my first pregnancy. So I just switched to just folic acid, and that really helped. So if you're using a multivitamin and you're really not getting on with it, maybe try just switching to folic acid. But in all honesty, I had these left over from my first pregnancy. They were still in date because obviously we were having babies quite close together. So they were still in date, so I thought, well, I'll just give them a go. And I seem to have actually really got on with them a lot better this time, which is great. The reason why I went for a multivitamin in the first place is just basically because I know that everything that I need in this first trimester I'm getting, especially when you are feeling sick or you're being sick. It's really hard to get all that nutrients and you don't really fancy eating normally, and like vegetables and like a varied balanced diet kind of goes out of the window. So just for like my peace of mind, I knew that I was getting everything I needed from this. But if you're not getting on with them and they're not agreeing with you, then you can literally just take folic acid. These are like a lot cheaper as well. And to be honest, if I didn't already have them in the cupboard, I would have just continued to take folic acid. I was also taking this before I fell pregnant because it's kind of recommended if you're trying for a baby, to take folic acid at least 3 months before you fall pregnant, I think, ideally. But I just started taking this when we were trying. And then you could either take this or the multivitamin. When actually speaking to my midwife, they actually advise if you're not having a multivitamin, to take vitamin D, which I was never told about in my first pregnancy. But when speaking to my midwife at my appointment this time round, she said that I probably should have been advised. That should have been something I was taking in my first pregnancy, but I wasn't because I wasn't made aware of it. So if you are just taking folic acid, then you need to make sure you're taking vitamin D. Just check with your midwife about how much and if that information is correct, but that is what I was told by my midwife. Either taking like a multivitamin, I'm pretty sure they're all the same as well. Like the Pregnacare ones are expensive. They're a really well-known brand, but I would assume like most pregnancy multivitamins do the same. But if you don't get on with them, like I said, folic acid and vitamin D. The folic acid you don't need to continue to take into the second trimester, so you wouldn't need to take that, but you would need to continue to take vitamin D. In all honesty, I'm nearly out of this pack, and I think when I'm done with this, I will just buy some vitamin D and I'll take that for the rest, because this is expensive and I'm not sure I need all of the other stuff in it. And the midwife has said, as long as I'm getting vitamin D, then that's all good. Second thing that really helped me in my first trimester is kind of linked to the first point. So if I was having like some digestive problems, this is probably TMI, but I would definitely go from needing to go to the toilet really frequently and then to not being able to go at all. So if I was in one of those phases where you're feeling quite constipated, if you're getting like dehydrated, you need to make sure you're drinking lots of water, and your digestive system does slow down when you're pregnant. So something that I found really helped me like a natural way was eating prunes or like drinking prune juice. I found that really helped just to get things moving. So if I was feeling really constipated and bloated and yucky, just having some prunes would really help, and it's like a natural, safe way to get things moving. I mean, if that doesn't work and you are having real problems, then maybe see your midwife, doctor, or go to the pharmacy or something, because I think there are kind of natural things that can be given to help, but I never needed to do that. The prunes and prune juice worked fine for me. So yeah, that's another little tip for you there if you are struggling in that area. Third thing is sticking to kind of like drinking lots of water, keeping hydrated. It obviously helps everything. Any kind of symptoms you're probably having would, you know, improve, or it does help by keeping hydrated. But for me, I completely went off squash, which is what I normally drink. I was drinking more water, definitely. It was something that I wanted, just nice cold water. It had to be cold, and I would just really lightly just sip on it. So you don't want to like chug it, you just want to sip it. But another thing that I found that really helped, and this is empty now because I've just drunk this morning, is this flavoured sparkling water. I did mention this in my first trimester diaries vlog, but for some reason just sipping on this like fizzy fruity water just really helped ease my sickness. I wouldn't obviously chug it, it would just be like an odd sip here and there, and I found it really helped, and it was a really good way of keeping me hydrated if I didn't fancy anything else. I completely went off like tea and coffee. That was not something that I wanted. Squash wasn't something that I really wanted to drink, but this definitely helped. Another thing that I've heard is supposed to be really good, but I've never tried, but that's like a lemon cordial or like a lemon squash or something. That's supposed to also help with the sickness. Even if like I wasn't fancying squash, maybe I would have gone for like a lemon cordial or something. So that is something I am going to get and try, because I still do in my second trimester get waves of sickness, mostly if I'm run down or tired or haven't eaten in a while, if I've got an empty stomach. So I'm going to get some lemon squash and I will let you know if it does help. But I have heard that it can help kind of ease the sickness. So I guess it's worth a try. You can literally just get a really cheap squash and just give it a go. Number 4 is, I actually can't find them at the moment. I don't know where I've put them, but they were the wrist anti-sickness bands. So I think they're for like seasickness or motion sickness, but they basically use like pressure points to help. You wear them on your wrist. You've probably seen me wear them, especially if you've watched my first trimester vlog. I just wore them all the time. As I've said before, I'm not 100% sure how much they work. They definitely do help ease it, because when I wasn't wearing them, I definitely felt worse. And I think it helps kind of prevent it, just wearing these on the pressure points. And I definitely felt worse when I wasn't wearing them. Whether it's just a placebo effect or not, I don't really care, because if it helped me feel better, then that was all that mattered. You can get them really cheap on like Amazon, so they're definitely worth trying, and they did really help me, so that is something I would recommend. The only thing is you can't really like hide them very well. So say like if it's like summertime and you've got like a short sleeve t-shirt on or something, someone will probably notice if you're like in your first trimester and you haven't necessarily told everyone yet. Hopefully you can make them work and they would help with sickness and things like that. The 5th tip I have for you is just to eat little and often. I definitely felt worse when I was tired and when I was hungry. So when I had an empty stomach is when you feel sick. It's just a really bizarre feeling, because you feel really sick. So you feel sick, which means you don't really want to eat, but actually eating helps. Eating bland foods. So the kind of foods that I gravitated towards were all like beige carbs, things like for snacks and to like ease the sickness, things like ginger biscuits, plain biscuits, salty crackers, salty crisps, breadsticks, things like that would really help. And a thing that really did help me was I had like a packet of plain biscuits in my bedside table, because when I woke up sometimes in the middle of the night or in the mornings when my stomach was like empty, I would feel really sick, but just nibbling on a dry biscuit or cracker or something like that would really help. So keep them like by your side at all times and put them in your bedside table, so if you wake up at any point in the night or when you wake up in the morning and you're super hungry and feeling really nauseous, that should help just ease that sickness, and that was really helpful for me. And then obviously snacks like that I would just take about with me all the time. I was definitely eating frequently, maybe not necessarily more because I wasn't eating like a variety and a varied diet. I wasn't eating massive portions because I didn't want to get too full either, because that would make me sick. But I was definitely frequently eating. Like I would have maybe 2 breakfasts, because obviously I've got a toddler, so I'm up quite early. We're up at like 6 a.m, so I'd need something at that time. So I would normally have like a bagel or a slice of toast, something like that. That's all I really wanted. And then a few hours later, by like 9-10 o'clock, I would then be hungry again. So I'd then have something else, maybe more of like the biscuit snacks, or things like a granola bar, like with nothing in it for me, just like a plain granola bar. You just bought the Tesco own version, something like that, a packet of crisps, anything like that, just to help me not feel hungry. And sometimes I would have like another bagel, or I'd have some porridge or something like that, just to fill me up. And it sounds excessive and I think, oh, I was eating far too much, but that's what my body was craving and that's what I needed. And to be honest, I was going to do it to help stop the sickness. It's worth it. Like, I feel like you've just got to listen to your body. If that's what your body's craving, that's what it needs. That's kind of where I was at and how I viewed it and got through this first trimester. Other things that I'd like to eat for lunch was like jacket potato, any kind of potato, basically mashed potato, chips, anything that was potatoey, pasta, but probably just plain with like cheese. I also was really craving actually like fruit, like fresh fruit. A lot of like oranges or orange flavoured things I would really like the taste of. I guess maybe it's similar to do with like the lemons, like the acidic side of it maybe helps with the sickness, I'm not sure. And then like fruit juice as well, or smoothies, something like that would be something that I was like, that was probably my biggest like craving as such, whereas the potatoes and that was just basically to help stop the sickness. But in terms of what I wanted to taste, if that makes sense, and what my mouth craved was like fruit juices, smoothies and things like that. But then I had to be a little bit careful that I wasn't then intaking too much sugar, because then that could give me like a tummy ache. So if you drink like a whole massive bottle of smoothie, that can kind of make your tummy go a bit funny, especially with IBS and things, and then that would make me feel worse. So it's all just about finding balance, just like going with it and just listening to your body, basically. Also, what I would say, and it's not always possible, especially I found this in my second pregnancy, in the fact that I've got a toddler now to look after and life is busier than ever, but just rest as much as you possibly can, because tiredness is a killer and it makes it so much worse. If you can get a nap in at any point in the day, do it. I got to the point where I had lots of stuff that needed doing. I was behind on housework, behind on pretty much everything, but I was making resting and napping my priority, because I knew I would not be able to function without it, basically. And I was going to bed probably at 8 o'clock every single evening. But again, I was just listening to my body, and that's what it needed, and that's what I needed to be able to function and look after my toddler, basically, and go to work and function. So I know it's really hard, especially when you're busy and you've got a million things to do, but you really need to make it a priority to rest when you can and catch up on that sleep. And you will want to sleep more, and you will need to sleep more, because you're growing a baby. Like, I had this like battle in my head of feeling lazy. I hate laying around not doing stuff. It makes me feel guilty. And there would be times where I'd just literally put a film on for Novalie and she would just sit and watch the film, and I would just lay on the sofa and I would feel so guilty. But it's what I had to do, and it was the only way I was going to get through it. So you just need to listen to your body and seek support where you can. Definitely ask for help if you've got like a really good support system like I have. I'm so lucky to have such an amazing support system with my family and with Tom's family. We have so many people around us that offer us support, and it is something I really utilised in my first trimester, especially. Still am now, always will with children. Yeah, really, really lucky to have them all. But ask for help, accept help. I know it's easy for someone to offer and you say, no, I'm fine, everything's fine. But you will just run yourself into the ground and you'll make yourself feel 100 times worse. So rest, accept help, let things go. And that was really, really hard for me, and it still is. I still really struggle with it, but it's something I'm trying to learn and come to terms with and follow my own advice, basically. In that sense as well, I pretty much stopped, not that I do much cooking anyway, to be quite honest. Tom is the cook of the house most of the time, but I did pretty much stop cooking because it would make me feel sick. So if you can rely on your partner or somebody else to help you out in that way, that can really help. He would cook and prepare the meals. Obviously I'd make stuff throughout the day for Novely and when I needed to, but as in like when he was home from work, he would really take over with cooking. A lot of the time I wouldn't fancy like chicken or any sort of meat or anything like a proper meal. I would just want like the stodge of like the carbs and things like pasta, chips, all that kind of thing. But that's what he would just cook for me, and that's what I would eat because is a thing that made me feel better. But yeah, if you can get like the support, if anything like that makes you feel sick, then avoiding cooking if you can help. So the last thing I'll probably touch on that helped me through my first trimester is just wearing baggy, loose, comfortable clothing. I did not want, and still don't want, anything like tight around my stomach, like causing a line across the middle of my stomach. I don't mind like maternity things that come all the way over the bump, but things that would like sit half on the bump, absolutely not. I was so bloated, still am. But I think now I'm getting slightly more of a bump, whereas first trimester was, you know, mostly bloat, and I have shown quicker second baby. Just being comfortable has been my main thing. I haven't wanted to wear anything tight or anything restricting. I just want to be comfortable. I'm bloating. I need that, you know, that room to breathe. When you feel sick as well, you don't want to have anything restricting you because it can make you feel worse. And it can really impact how you're feeling. If you've got something tight around your tummy and it's making you feel sick and giving you a stomach ache, that is not, don't know if I just felt a movement. That's definitely not going to be helpful. So, you know, if you need to whip out those maternity clothes in your first trimester, do it. I had to. Not necessarily like I wasn't wearing jeans or anything, I just switched to leggings. So I was either in a size or two up in leggings, or because obviously I had stuff left over from my previous pregnancy, I would just get out like my really stretchy leggings or really stretchy tops and dresses and things like that, because I just needed to be comfy. As you can probably tell right now in what I'm wearing, it's all about comfort, and that really helps. I think that's everything that has helped me in my first trimester. But if you are really struggling with sickness, you can't keep anything down, it's really affecting your mood, your mental health, please seek help from your midwife or doctor, because there's definitely stuff that they can do to help improve. If you're not being able to keep anything down and the sickness is becoming out of control, there is medication that you can get prescribed that will help with the sickness. If you're really struggling like mentally and you're finding that it's really taking its toll and it's getting you down, then there are people you can talk to, and there's loads of support out there. So don't suffer in silence, and really do seek help if you do need it, because like your well-being is the most important, and that affects your growing baby. If you're not in a good mindset, you're not in a good state, you're feeling really down and rubbish, then that really impacts you and your baby. But basically my main point is give yourself grace, try not to stress and worry, do whatever feels good and feels right for you, follow your body's cues, try and stay hydrated, and really accept that help if it's available to you. Just know that it does or hopefully it will get better. Like that, I find that first trimester really hard. I find it isolating because, like, from our point of view, we didn't tell everybody, so it can be quite an isolating experience. It can be really scary and nerve-wracking because, you know, the first trimester is the most risky. You know, you don't know what's happening. It can feel odd because you have no actual physical, like, you don't have a bump or you haven't seen your baby, so it can feel really surreal. The tiredness is so intense, and I feel like in your third trimester a lot of that comes back, but from the like a person from outside looking in, they can tell you're pregnant. They can see that you've got this big bump, and that could explain all of these symptoms, and people are a lot more willing to help then, I find, whereas in that first trimester nobody can tell from the outside unless obviously you tell them. So maybe that support isn't there as much. You don't have as much understanding from colleagues, from strangers. It can be a really tough time. So I think basically you've just got to get through it, and, you know, hopefully it should get better, and at the end of the day you will get a beautiful baby out at the end of it. It is just, doesn't make it any easier, and I know it can be really tough, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. But if you're really struggling, then definitely seek some help. So I hope that helps you. If you have any other tips and hints and tricks, then please leave them in the comments below, because I know there'll be people out here watching this that are in their first trimester, and some of these things are still reoccurring in the second trimester and onwards. So all the hints and tips would be much appreciated, and I hope it helps you, and I will see you in my next one. Thank you so much. Bye.